Hey, good people, how y'all doing? Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be giving you all my thoughts, my opinions on The Real Housewives of Potomac Season 8, Episode 4. Guys, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. I greatly appreciate it. Let's jump right into this review. Wendy girl, you deflected, and we're going to talk about that later. Let's talk about Mia and Gordon arriving what seemed to be at the same time for Karen's pickleball event, and they're arriving in two separate cars. That was really weird, and there was no explanation. I think production was just really being messy. We know what's going on with them in present day, but I thought that was interesting. Miss Dorothy, Candiace's mom, girl, she still has issues with Chris. But I'm grateful that it's toned down a lot. And they didn't really, her and Candiace, when they had a conversation, they didn't really get too far into the mess. But yeah, Miss Dorothy still has an issue with Chris and trying to figure out what the heck it is that he does. I'm glad to see that Miss Dorothy and Candiace are doing much better, that their relationship has really grown over the last couple of years. Candiace shares that she feels like her mom respects her a lot more because of what she's doing in her music career, which is really nice. Like I said earlier, I don't think Miss Dorothy really is too keen on Chris because she's asking Candiace, what is he doing for a living? What is he doing to contribute? Candiace has obviously shared with her mother the expense of touring and stuff like that. And Candiace says that, Chris is still holding his own. He's still bringing in an income. And I really would like to just put to bed this whole situation with Chris because I feel like he contributes to his household. We've never seen him without a job on the show. He's always been doing something. Even when he was managing Candiace, that was a job. He was working, he was doing something. So he's not one of those guys who's just going to ride off on their wife's coattail and let her do everything. No, he's out there doing what he has to do. So we need to leave that alone. Do y'all think that we're going to really see more of Chris during this season? Because I feel like we've seen him maybe one time. And if you look at Chris versus Juan, Juan has literally been on every episode thus far. We have seen more of Juan in these last 4 episodes than we have pretty much seen him or heard from him throughout the 8 years that this show has been on air, which is crazy. Chris, on the other hand, coming off of everything that he dealt with last year, I could kind of understand why he would want to take a step back, but I'm just wondering, will he make more of an appearance on the show? You guys drop your comments down below. So when Nneka and Robin met, they had drinks one-on-one. We saw that in last week's episode. Nneka told Robin what was going on with the whole Wendy situation, and she asked Robin not to share anything with anybody. Now, I think we can all agree when we watch these franchises at this particular point in time, when these women come on these shows, they have had to have seen seasons past. And word on the street is Nneka has been a fan of Potomac since it first came out. So she's well aware of the different dynamics within the group. So her asking Robin to keep this a secret is some BS because we already know Robin's going to run and go tell Giselle, which is exactly what we see her do during this episode. And of course, these two we know don't like Wendy. I'm sure, obviously, Nneka is very aware of that. And they're going to make this out to be bigger than what it needs to be. And the thing that I really did not understand as it relates to Nneka in this situation is why tell Robin not to say anything when you planned all along, in my opinion, as a viewer, to call out Wendy in front of the rest of these women. And the reason why I say that is because we find out later in the episode that when Nneka and Wendy first met, Wendy gave Nneka her phone number. So if she had an issue with anything that was coming from Wendy's side of things, her mother, her sister, her auntie, her brother, whoever, she had Wendy's number to contact her. But instead of talking to Wendy, you're going to sit there and involve Robin? Really? Also, what I don't understand, and maybe I have to go back and watch everything from the beginning. If Nneka knew that Wendy's mom had said these things about the shrine and all this other stuff, if this is bothering her so bad, And she knew at that time. Why was she okay with being in Wendy's presence and gave her the nice hello and everything else? But then we see her at the pickleball event later on in the episode, and it didn't take much for her to get to a 10. These are things we need to think about. I'm just saying. So, of course, Robin sits down, shares this information with Giselle, and you could already see their wheels are spinning. They also talk about the situation with Juan. Apparently, they had some type of event for their podcast out of town, and Giselle was able to speak with Juan and discuss everything that she's talked about regarding him and Robin, and I guess just to feel him out and see what he had to say. Giselle is saying that it got to a point where Juan was basically yelling at her. So I'm assuming she felt disrespected. I don't think this is going to be a drawn out thing like we've seen Giselle do with Chris last year, where she's like, oh, you made me feel uncomfortable and this, that, and the third. I think she said what she said. She's going to leave it alone. Robin, on the other hand, takes this information and she says in her confessional that she doubts Juan yelled at her. So how come you didn't tell Giselle, girl, he didn't yell at you? Why didn't you say that to her at the table? Why are you waiting for your confessional to say this? Secondly, Robin, to Giselle's face at their dinner, says that Juan can't really hear well because he was a basketball coach and he always had to yell, so it affected his hearing. I swear, y'all, Robin be playing in our faces. Robin really thinks her justification of things makes sense. Her theories are so off. It's almost like, girl, are you serious? Are you listening to what you're saying right now? I don't know. Like, I follow sports. I follow basketball in particular. I have never heard of a coach having issues hearing because of him being a coach. You're going to have to try harder, Robin, girl, or just not say nothing at all. Giselle could have said that comment and you could have just let it go. There was no need for you to say anything, in my opinion. Time and time again, you just make yourself look so bad. And I wonder, would Juan defend you the way that you defend him? So let's just fast forward to this whole pickleball event that Karen is hosting. Everybody looked good except for Robin. Like, girl, you know, you have the physique and all, but what are you wearing? This is what Karen had to say in her confessional. And when I tell you that this took me out, this took me out. What is that? Karen is one of those people, we don't need to see her like all the time on the episodes. But when she comes on our screens, she is hilarious to me. I don't care what nobody says. The grande never misses when it comes to the shade. Never. Let's move on. So Karen splits the teams up. When Candiace sees Giselle, she has no words for her. She has no words for Robin. But in her confessional, she seems surprised that Robin didn't acknowledge her. And she's wondering, what is Robin's problem with her? And then of course production shows all of the headlines of the different things that Candiace has said about Robin. And it's like, girl, well, that's the problem right there. The thing about the two of these women is that they've both said some nasty things about each other. Let's not forget, Robin tried to throw Candiace under the bus last year, playing that video that she played at that dinner that time. So they're not in a good space and they haven't been. I don't know why either of them would expect the other one to speak with them. And not only that, but I believe that their relationship is probably more one-sided. I feel like Candiace was more involved with the relationship, with the friendship, than Robin is. Because if you really have a true friendship, you guys can sit down and have a conversation and hash it out and move forward. You could at least say hello to each other. But anywho, at this point, they're all sitting down and talking, and this is where the whole Mecca and Wendy situation went left. The thing that I hate about this for these two women in particular is that they're both from the same culture. Two Nigerian women from the same tribe, if I'm not mistaken. If I'm misspeaking, let me know in the comments, but they're from the same tribe. And here y'all are fighting amongst each other about things associated with Nigerians that are not great. You know, people associate Nigerians with witchcraft and things like that. Nneka bringing up this type of stuff on the show, even though it came through Ashley first, you ran with it, knowing how this would portray Wendy. Is it worth it? The fame and the notoriety from being on The Real Housewives of Potomac. I have read all of these reviews from Nigerians, West Indians, you name it, people from other cultures. And they're embarrassed for both Wendy and Nneka. And it's sad because these two could have really been a force to reckon with on the show. My thought about the whole situation is this. I find it interesting that the next year after everything came out about after Candiace and I believe Wendy too talked about the whole colorist situation, that they bring someone like Nneka on the show to make it seem like that's not an issue on the show. And we all, as fans, know that, yeah, there's been a lot of instances where it has been. So you think that bringing Nneka on is going to, in some way, shape, or form, pull the wool over our eyes and we're not able to see what's really going on here. That's one of my theories. The other theory is that, like I said, Nneka is just thirsty. She's seen the show. She's well versed in the different dynamics of this group, and she's playing right into the hands of these other women at the expense of her own culture. You have four most educated people on the show: Wendy, her husband, Nneka, and her husband. And this is what y'all are out here doing. Fighting over if you unfollowed me on Facebook. I just think that they should be ashamed of themselves and their representation of their country. So, of course, Nneka tells Wendy about whatever her mom is allegedly doing, which is the whole witchcraft stuff. And Wendy says, no, my mom is a Christian, blah, 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 blah. Wendy doesn't really want to have this conversation. To me, she's deflecting. She kind of talks over Nneka. Nneka can't really put anything on the table because Wendy is over talking her. And then it gets to a weird point where Wendy decides to pull Mia aside and have a side conversation with her to avoid the conversation with Nneka. And this is where Wendy really just lost me, because it's like, girl, you have said all of these things about Mia. Mia has thrown a drink in your face. It's very clear that there's, you two just don't mix. Why are you pulling her to the side? And you would think she would pull her to the side and be like, hey, let's hash out our differences. Let's get back on the same page, whatever. That side conversation that the two of them had was trash. Why even air it, honestly? Because it was nothing of importance or substance that was said. It was clearly Wendy trying to deflect from the conversation that Nneka was trying to have. And then we have people like Giselle, Robin, and even Ashley in the corner snickering and making side comments about the situation. And Ashley being upset that Wendy brought up the whole Osu conversation again is whack too, because why? You still trying to cover your tracks and not let it be known that you were stirring the pot? What really stopped everything in its tracks is the fact that Juan's competitive nature got the best of him. He flew into the gate where the food was on the other side and it almost started a fire, and that kind of broke up things for a little bit. But then we have the four Nigerians over there fighting about Facebook. Nneka's husband asks Eddie why he unfollowed him on Facebook. And the thing with Facebook is you don't know that a person unfollows you until you look for that person. So why were y'all checking for Eddie? Of all the friends that I'm sure you have on Facebook, why were you looking to see what Eddie was up to? Poor Eddie. I mean, he's just not cut out for the show. Can we just be honest and call a spade a spade? He was like a deer in headlights when that man approached him. He didn't know what to say. The reality of the situation is they know of each other. The extent of their relationship is still yet to be seen or disclosed, but they know of each other. And it was clear that Eddie really did not want to say, yeah, I unfollowed you, or even admit that he knows of him for whatever reason, more than likely to support his wife. And if Wendy wears the pants in their relationship, Nneka, then it is what it is, because it doesn't seem like it's any different between you and your husband, because you certainly checked him too. I'm just saying, call a spade, girl. You and Wendy both wear the pants in your relationship from what I've seen out of this episode. That's pretty much the end of the episode. I want to know what you guys think. Please drop a comment down below, like this video, and subscribe if you're so inclined to do so. Until next time, I will see you in my next video. Bye-bye.